Let's get the mute off. We did it. I'm laughing at the comments as they come in here in the morning. It's great. Just before we get started, thanks for joining. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome. We're on time. We're always on time now. It's great. And figuring out this new software slowly but surely. Hopefully you did like that. Hopefully you did like that music. I'm laughing here. If you're just watching this for the first time, we go live Monday to Friday. 8 o'clock Pacific time to about 8:45. Talk about the market, talk about finance, talk about wherever the conversation takes us. If you are watching on the replay, as always, you can catch the live streams. If you make it live, all the better. Got a great group of people here, the coffee crew, as we like to call them. But if you can't make it live, you can always catch the replay on the channel. So thanks as people roll in here in the morning. It's Wednesday. Happy hump day to everybody. And let's just see who's here. I saw a few people did come in beforehand. So let's go. Let's get started. I'm in a good mood today. The music gets me. Good morning, Candace. As always, the music gets me. It's funny. The intro, the comments I was laughing at before I started the live stream. The music gets me excited. Disco gets us going. I might kind of change things up a little bit with music. We'll see what we go. Maybe find some 80s in there next week or something like that. Just figure need something a little bit upbeat to kind of get me rolling in the morning. So I figured that'd be a good one. Yeah. So that was one I found. It's funny that one, Candace. There's a channel I follow on YouTube called Gerald Undone, and he does a lot of kind of more tech reviews, camera reviews, audio reviews, that kind of thing. And he runs a section of that in as his end screen, and it's kind of catchy. That's why I picked it up. It's actually from the YouTube. It's free, like a free music to use on YouTube. So that's part of the reason it's chosen as well. So I can stream without getting any kind of copyright strikes. But yeah, like Starsky, MC said, Starsky and Hutch behind the wall, getting going, kind of bob my head. So we'll see. Good morning, MC. Good to have you. And Stan is here. Good morning. If anybody else is watching, don't be afraid to say hello. If you're new, we're a good crew of people. If you have questions, as always, as we go through the stream, don't be afraid. Fire them in the chat. It's always good to talk about what people want to talk about, and not just always what I want to talk about and bring up. So as we go there, let's have a sip of coffee and we'll get on the roll. So today, we're doing okay today. I looked at the market a little bit. Obviously, tomorrow's going to be the big day, CPI in the States. So I haven't looked too much on any kind of predictions on that yet. I'll have to dig into that a little bit today. I'll head over to Twitter. Twitter's usually good for some of the kind of predictions of what's coming on. I think we're probably going to see hopefully a bit of a drop in the States. That's kind of what I think people are anticipating. Let us know in the comments what you kind of think, what's going to happen, if it's going to come down, what's going to go. I think if we come down, we're going to see our portfolios hopefully improve a little bit, but we'll have to see what happens. That's tomorrow. Sean, good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Always good to have you here. If you have any questions, fire them away. We've got a few articles to share this morning. I'm fired up today. I'm in a good mood. I can tell it's like halfway through the week. Maybe that's what it is. And work for me has actually been busy, so it's good. The days go quick, which is always good. The first article. Let me pull this up first. This was actually MC yesterday when we were kind of just leaving the live stream. I saw your comment come up about ChatGPT and Microsoft. So I wanted to kind of grab a quick little article on that. We can kind of talk about ChatGPT. I don't think we've actually talked about ChatGPT much on this live stream. I know, Candace, we've talked about it on your live stream. So let's pull this up. Hopefully this goes. There we go. So, and this was what MC brought up yesterday. Microsoft's reported to be wanting to invest $10 billion into OpenAI, with basically an investment in there. Now, hopefully you can read this okay. Basically, it's if you don't know what ChatGPT is, you can check it out. You have to just Google ChatGPT. It'll pop up. It's an AI where you can basically type in literally anything, and it will give you responses. And but you can also do more kind of, this AI kind of uses more long form you could say, write a thank you letter to my mom for giving me apple pie, and it would write this letter down. Pretty interesting things. I've used it actually a little bit on my channel for creating titles for the YouTube channel. Also helping out with some video description as well. It does a pretty good job. It's not 100%. It's not 100%. Perfect by any means, or it's not necessarily always in your your words as you're typing. It involves a little bit of editing usually, but it does a good job. It does a really kind of neat job. You can write poems with it. You can do coding with it. It's just you have to really kind of check it out. And I think we're kind of just tipping the iceberg on this. And I guess Microsoft maybe sees this. If they're investing $10 billion, that puts the OpenAI at a $29 billion valuation. So pretty interesting. But what Microsoft is reportedly wanting to do is integrate the technology into Microsoft Word, which would be really interesting, and also into their search engine, Bing. Now, I don't know. I've used Bing, but I don't use Bing very often. So this could maybe give Google a bit of a run for the money. Now, I know Google is developing their own AI. I'm not really sure what it's called. If anybody knows, let me know in the comments what Google's AI is called. So I think that's going to be maybe the bit of the buzz of 2023 is going to be AI. And obviously I know Tesla is big into AI as well. So I think that's going to be the buzz of 2023. So we'll see what happens. I did find that interesting, and MC, I did catch that last that comment that you put in yesterday. So I just wanted to bring that up to everybody's attention. But check out ChatGPT if you have some time. It's kind of interesting for sure. Well, let's go. And yeah, make Bing great again for the first time. Yeah, I'm not a big. Everybody just seems to go to Google, right? I mean, it's just right, Candace. I mean, it's normal. You just if you need an answer for something, you go just Google it. So they've done a good job there. I think the one thing with Google the reason it's taken off and done so well, I think partly too, is it's pretty simple. The interface is very simple. There's ads, obviously, but the way they've integrated the ads is not overwhelming. I know with Bing, I think sometimes with Bing, there's maybe a bit more the ads seem to be a bit more overbearing sometimes in the visual of it all, but Google seems to work, and it's integrated with so many things. You've got Google, if you have an Android, you have Google Maps, Google Car Play, if you have it in your car, that kind of thing. And the search results are just usually on the money. The odd time for Bing, I'm just trying to think of what I would use Bing for. I can't really think of a good reason, actually. I'm not a Bing user, and I'm not a Windows user. So maybe I think people that are using Windows does Bing not default as the default search for Windows? I could be wrong. I haven't used Windows computer in so long, but so there we go. And I've heard that Utes go to TikTok. Maybe I'm dating myself here, but what's Ute? Is that like after the millennials or something like that? I'm not sure. Reddit can be interesting though too, for searching for things. There's lots of finance stuff on Reddit too, but you have to really dig through a lot of times, because Reddit can be kind of hit or miss, I find. And I don't have TikTok. Too old for TikTok. There we go. MC, always good to have you here too as well. I'll have to read the rest of your comment because it's not all going to show up on the chat. It just cuts down. Earnings season kicking off soon, exactly, which will determine which way we go in the short term. Many suspecting earnings recession. Many are suspecting earnings recession. If that happens, expect volatility with possible capitulation. We'll see. My cousin Vinny. Okay, I didn't watch that. I haven't seen it. Over my head. Way over. So there we go. Yeah, the market. I mean, that's the thing. Go back on excuse me, back on the MC's comment. Yeah, we're in for volatility for sure. I think it's a given for this year. I think we're going to be in for that. I'm not. Again, sticking with my plan as we go forward. I did my weekly purchase, reinvested my dividends yesterday, and just really kind of not ignoring things, but just waiting till next week, right? It's easy to kind of want to sometimes put more into something, but that's not doing that. Just sticking with the plan. Consistency and patience is my mantra of 2023. Okay, let's pull up. I had a couple articles. We'll see. We'll see what we got here next. Let's pull this one up. Housing market. And we'll put it right there. There we go. Housing. I found this interesting. We've talked about the housing market on the channel before a number of times. It's nothing new. Canadians love to talk about their housing, that's for sure. We have seen housing prices come down. TD is calling the market bottom is in sight for TD. So what they were saying, I read this earlier. They're saying the floor will basically come. It'll coincide with the pause in interest rates. So, big question, right, is where Canada is going to stop raising rates. I think we're all on the same page with agreeing that it's going to be an increase at the end of this month, or just before the end of this month, probably 25 basis points. The big question is, will that continue? We'll have to see. TD's kind of saying, no, not yet. So the bottom is basically, everything is expected to fall around 20% from the peak before finally stalling in the first few months of this year. So kind of up, I guess, coming into spring, they're saying is the bottom. I don't know. I wish I had a crystal ball on that regards. They seem to think they maybe do. It's hard to know. And different areas are definitely impacted different areas are definitely impacted different than others in the country. It's not just one market in Canada. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I know I can only kind of speak a little bit for Lower Mainland. Prices have come down, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we'll see. We're going to keep this. We'll keep this in the back of our heads, and in a few months we'll look and see if it's actually was true or not. There we go. And yeah, Candace, I did see that the FAA. I read a little bit about it. There was a huge outage of everything planes not being able to land in the States. I think it's back up and running. Yeah, it was out for I think a couple hours, and then they had to whatever they do, reboot their systems or something. But as it happened, they canceled the entire country's flights being able to take off, and I'm sure that would impact other countries coming into the United States. I would assume, probably delaying flights a little bit. So probably not a good day to fly if you're in the States. There was something like, I think I read, Candace, in one of the articles, there was 21,000 flights scheduled to take off today in the United States. Like it's kind of crazy when you think about how many planes are actually in the air at one time. If you ever look on those flight tracker websites and you see the number of airplanes actually in the air, it's kind of mind blowing. So I read that it was 21,000 planes. So that's a lot of planes to be delayed. That's for sure, to get that back up and running again. So I'm sure that, especially coming after the storms and stuff we had. I mean, we had the bad weather here in Canada, so it's winter. It's not a good time for delays and anything like that. I'm glad I'm not flying today. That's for sure. I've flown and been with delays and everything else, and not fun. Never fun. You always want to get to and from wherever you're going as fast as possible. And whenever there's a flight delay, it's always stressful, and people always become impatient. That's for sure. One thing I have learned, because I used to travel quite a bit for work, is always do carry on. That's my tip. That's my travel tip. You save a lot of hassle if you are able to carry on, for what it's worth. There we go. MC, good call here. I'll read. I have to read it. So EQ Finance. That's where everybody's favorite place to pick up GICs was one of them is EQ. But they're doing a preloaded MasterCard, which is 2.5% cash back balance, or sorry, cash. So 2.5 on the cash balance. Oh, okay. I'm thinking cash back. So 2.5 on the cash balance and no fee ATM in Canada. No transfer fees, but there is a footnote regarding this. Interesting. That's not too bad. There is. I'm just trying to think of other options for prepaid. Like I know Wealthsimple has their prepaid card now. I actually got one, but I don't use it. But they offer. I forget what they offer. They just offer cash back if you're spending, not if you're carrying a balance. So that's interesting. Kind of helps if you. I find the prepaid cards really good for budgeting. What I use, MC, is I use the Shakepay card. It pays 1% cash back in Bitcoin, but what I do is I load it up, and but it also pays on your balance. Now it's not, they don't pay a cash. Shakepay doesn't pay, like, they give a percentage to your cash balance, but it's in Bitcoin. So something interesting. And right now they have like promo going on. I forget what it's paying on your cash balance in Bitcoin, and they pay it once a week. If you have a balance up to, I'm going to pull this up here just so I can check it out if I can actually find it here. Dollars. So they have the dollar account. So it's called Shakepay Earn now. And what it does is right now they give you a boost of it. So if you have up to $1,000 Canadian in your prepaid cash account, right now I'm in like a boost of it for 3 months, and they pay 7% APR on your balance. But they reward you back in Bitcoin into your Bitcoin account. So you could technically sell your Bitcoin after if you wanted to, but that's just kind of something to think about. And I think afterwards they're going to lower it, probably around 2.5% or 4%, something like that. But just another way to kind of use it. So the cashback is 0.5. The 2.5% is on the cash balance remaining on the preloaded amount. So it's kind of like it's like a savings account with a card built in, but makes it easier, right? So you can access the ATMs easy with it, that kind of stuff. And I do like the prepaid cards. And where I was kind of going with using Shakepay is I use it for kind of my daily incidental purchases, that kind of stuff, for gas, that kind of thing. So I'll load up. I don't put a ton on there at a time, but I usually just kind of transfer like $100 at a time, a couple $100 if I know I'm going to be using something, possibly to buy something, because it gives me the cash back in Bitcoin. But I usually put, like, if I'm for the week, I'll put $100 on there or something like that, and just use it for day-to-day stuff. If I'm out, if I have to go pick up gas, I'll use the tap to buy gas, or if I have to run into a store for some groceries or something like that quickly. I kind of use that more for discretionary stuff, because you pay more attention because you have to load it up, as opposed to just using your debit card, not paying attention to your balance, right? And so there's times I'll look at it and go, okay, my balance is low. I'm just going to hang on. I won't buy this today. So it works for me, but it's everybody's kind of different how they like to kind of budget. But that's a good option, 2.5% on a cash balance in a prepaid card. You might as well. I mean, if you have some savings account, use it to manage and just transfer some money over there, so you're still making some money, and you're not necessarily racking up a regular. The good thing about those is they're prepaid, so you can only go so far. You can't rack it up, right? Because you only got what you have in there. And there we go, Candace. Yeah, carrying on means you definitely never lose your luggage. There's been times, for the amount of times I've flown, actually, knock on wood, only have had delayed luggage once, which was surprising. But you kind of learn that the hard way once. But the best thing, if there's any type of, good thing about carrying on is you get off the plane, you're out, and you don't have to wait around for your luggage. And especially sometimes Canada, obviously you see in the news, Pearson Airport was bad, I think, and YVR was not the greatest sometimes. But waiting, like, if anybody's ever kind of waited for luggage, and I've been away with people before as a group, having to wait for their luggage, and sometimes you're waiting like almost an hour to grab your luggage. But then by the time you grab your luggage, and then you have to go through customs, because the whole plane is waiting for their luggage to come through, you have even more lineups for stuff. So if you have your carry-on little roller, you just wheel right out, get the customs if you have to go through customs if you're in another country, and then you're out, you're free. It seems to work a lot faster for things. And if ever there is issues with planes, schedules, and you have to, like, there's been times when I've had to rebook things for whatever reason, and if you have a carry-on and the plane is canceled and you have to move to try and get another flight out somehow, if you have your luggage in your hand and it's not loaded on the plane, it's much easier to get a ticket, believe me. So, but I haven't flown in a long time. It's been a while. MC, let us know, everybody else in the comments, how do you kind of manage this? So MC uses everything on a credit card, but carries a secondary debit card in case you need emergency cash or the credit card breaks. Yes, credit cards don't always work, absolutely. So you'll replace your Simply card with that new EQ card. Smart. There you go. Yeah, I use my cashback. I use my I have a Tangerine MasterCard. I mentioned it before, and you can choose different. You can choose different categories of your spending. You get 0.5% back on everything, but if you choose, there's certain categories you can select. You get 3 if your cash back goes towards a savings account at Tangerine, so you might as well do that and get 3. So I have my reoccurring, I have all my reoccurring bills come on there, so I get 2% cash back. I do have gas on there, although I don't really pay a lot of gas. And then I forget what my groceries is my third one. So I do all my groceries. I do, as everybody knows, I do curbside, and for the most part. So I will use that for groceries. So it kind of works. It adds up, actually. You can, at the end of the month, sometimes when you have a hefty bill, if you bought a lot of groceries and a lot of gas and, all the recurring bills, that 2% can add up quite quickly when I log in and check on my account. So what I kind of usually do is I take the cash back and usually put it towards the balance that's owed. And then obviously the best case scenario is pay off. I try not to carry any balance on my credit cards for sure. So pay that off, transfer stuff in there to pay it off. So it works quite well. I should do a video on, there's tons of videos though on YouTube with cashback cards, but there's ways to use credit cards smartly. That's for sure. It's just making sure that you don't overspend on them and make sure you're able to pay them off. That's for sure, because those can be pretty nasty with interest rates, and that's why I do like the prepaid one, because you're a bit more aware of sometimes what you are spending on day-to-day stuff. So I don't use my credit card for any kind of day-to-day. If I happen to go to get a coffee, that kind of stuff. If I'm out and about, I don't use my credit card for that. I use my prepaid. Now, I had one more article to share, and this comes back to, we'll pull it on there, office vacancies, which is interesting. And obviously it's the whole the whole conversation the past couple of years was, work from home, hybrid model, all that kind of stuff. And vacancy is hitting office vacancy hitting an all-time high in Q4, which I found was interesting. So in the biggest cities. Now I haven't been, if anybody's watching and lives in a big city, I don't live in Vancouver anymore. I used to live in Calgary. I haven't been downtown Vancouver for a long time, but the national rate in Canada for office vacancy hit 17.1%, a new all-time high, which was interesting. So, and Toronto is sitting at a vacancy rate of 13.6%, and Vancouver's vacancy is 9.8% now. Obviously, stuff has shifted. Work from home, hybrid, that kind of stuff. So that's partly, I think they're saying, to blame, but also there's also lots of new projects that have come up on the market, which has recently come online. So there's more vacancy. One thing I did find interesting when I lived in Calgary, and I moved from BC to Calgary. And Calgary right now, this article mentions, now the vacancy was low in the office when I was there as well, because it's such a boom and bust city. It's sitting right now at the highest it's been, 32.6%. When I was there, it was about 31%. But I remember walking around, going out, because I lived right kind of on the edge of the city, and I would go out and walk around, take pictures, and go for my morning, go for your morning walk around stuff, and you go into the downtown core, and it was like a ghost town. Even on a weekday, obviously in wintertime, obviously more people are inside, that kind of thing. But even in the summer, very very quiet. That's for sure. You'd really notice it. And if you went out, sometimes I go back and look at some of the other videos that I've done on my other channel, and walking around, and I'd always have lots of comments. And it was interesting because when I moved there, I had lived there 10-15 years prior for a little bit, but when I moved there, it was right before the pandemic when everything shut down. So when I first kind of started to get out and about, walking around, going outside. Obviously, a lot of stuff was closed, but I didn't have anything to judge on what it was like before. So it was a very interesting time when I was there. And I'd have comments on the channel going like it's like a ghost town, because on Sundays, or the weekend, obviously the downtown core of Calgary was always quiet on weekends anyways, but you could probably walk down the middle. You could walk down the middle of the main street and you'd not see a car. So some interesting pictures. It was kind of interesting, but lots of vacancies. There's whole entire high rises that are empty that in Alberta, which was a good. Interesting for pictures. Anyways, Brian, morning. Good to have you here. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to skip one of your comments there, MC, and pull up Alberta. It is, yeah. It's always been really boom and bust. They do rely really heavily on oil and gas, cyclical boom bust. It definitely is. I think right now, obviously, I mean, well, oil's come back down, but I think they're doing. I think they're doing okay now. There's always what I noticed when I was there is there was a big kind of push for a bit of trying to bring tech into the city. So there was like a Microsoft office opening up when I was there. So I mean that's good. They have been MC. They have been running a recruitment. I've seen pictures like on Twitter and stuff, it's like on the bus and transit signs and stuff, trying to get people to there. And there was that story of the person that moved to just outside. I think, no, I don't know if Edmonton's definitely a lot different city than Calgary, and haven't been to Edmonton in probably, 30 more years. We drove through Edmonton as a kid when I was traveling to visit friends. We were traveling as a family to visit friends in Saskatchewan, but she moved. She did not enjoy it. She was. I don't know the areas that well out there, but I don't think she moved to where she probably should have moved. It's definitely different than coming from a big city. Even comparing like Vancouver to Calgary is way different. Cheaper to live though. Some things are. It really just depends. I found some things were cheaper. Rent was, when I was there, was cheaper. That's for sure. But certain things, I mean, car insurance was at the time a little bit cheaper, but funnily enough, where I am now, it's cheaper than I was paying in Alberta. So it's kind of like here nor there. Gas is cheaper than in British Columbia, though. That is for sure. But she didn't like it because there was not much nightlife, which I could think where she wasn't probably the best area. That's for sure. Nadia, good morning. A little bit late. That's okay. Better late than never. Better late than never. Yes, there is tons. The property values in Alberta have been pretty flat. I mean, I think they're up. They were up a little bit last year. I think probably this year, and I'm going to assume probably flat. I don't know the market a ton, MC, out there, but there is a lot of realtors that are promoting Calgary real estate to people in British Columbia, but also Ontario. You're right. There is. I know a couple people that had. I know one person that had an investment property in Alberta, but sold it a number of years ago. Because this is the thing with the economy there. It's boom and bust. So that'll impact rent and stuff there too. I know when I was living there, MC, was able to rent an apartment in a high rise. That if it was the same, like this is where boom and bust rents come, because there was the landlords were basically fighting for tenants, like, and when you got the place I rented there, an equivalent place, and it had like it was a two bedroom, like it was too big. It's 2 bedroom. It was probably 1,200 square feet. Like it was massive, and it was on the floor. It had a giant. It was on like the second. It was on the second floor. No, it was on the. I can't remember now. Third. It was on the third floor, but it was kind of like the second, because the first floors were like, in a high rise, were kind of like 2-floor townhouses sort of things. And I was on the third floor, and it had like the patio on it was probably 2,000 square feet. The patio was like bigger than the apartment, and I was paying under $2,000 at the time. It was just crazy. And when I renewed the lease, for another year, they gave a free month's rent as well to get you to stay there. Like, it was crazy how you could basically go anywhere. There was also too, they would, like, places would give you free internet for a year or whatever. Like, it was pretty crazy. So the Alberta rental market is definitely boom and bust too. I think they're probably doing a bit more maybe now, but there's always there's always horror stories of last time. And I had a friend that bought a place in Calgary as an investment. Oh gosh, this is probably 10 years ago now, and was trying to sell it. Right, the market was just flat. I think they ended up probably just breaking even on it, But this is the thing with what people don't realize with rentals is you buy a rental, and this is why I'd never be a landlord. I mean, you have to cash flow, you have to make money. But as soon as I know someone here that has a rental in Alberta, in Calgary, or just outside the city, and she's gone through 2 tenants in less than a year. So if it's sitting empty for a month or two, you're losing money, right? So, and people were buying, it's investment, right? You have to look at that. People were buying it. People were buying rentals thinking that the property value is going to keep going up, or it's going to rent and you're going to make a fortune. But as soon as anything kind of changes, like we know with investing, we can look at our portfolios, things change, and real estate's no different. And I think in Canada, we haven't had to, investors in Canadian real estate haven't had to worry about that for a long time. So it's coming to bite. Yeah, it's coming to bite for people. I'm just going to go through and make sure I didn't miss any comments. Lots of comments today. That's awesome. Thanks everybody. Because I did with one from MC. MC Brookfield Asset Management. They did an equity buyback yesterday, and Aritzia is reporting after the bell today. Okay, interesting. Let's pull up and see if I can find anything on. That's probably why BAM went up quite a bit yesterday. I'm just going to search it here. Let's pull this up. And I'll take off your comment. That's just in there. It's down today. I don't see any news, but I'll have to maybe dig in. I'll have to dig into their website. Sometimes the news and the news releases don't always show up. So interesting. I'll have to do a bit of research on that. On that note, with Brookfield Asset Management, I watched Candace. If you're still watching, I watched your knockout video between Brookfield Asset Management and Brookfield Corp. Always very confusing, but I'll be carrying forward with the monthly purchase of that one as part of that StreamYard challenge, and I'll be putting the money. Last month I split it between the two, but I'll be putting it into BAM going forward. So that was the answer on that. I'll have to dig that up. Thanks for pointing out the MC. I'll have to do some digging on their website to see what's up with what they're doing on that one. While we have Google Finance open, let's pull up our Coffee Crew stock and see how everybody's kind of doing today. So if people that are watching this for maybe the first time, we're kind of keeping track of basically some of the stocks and ETFs that people mention in the chat. Obviously, if you're watching, this isn't any kind of advice. The disclaimer is not any kind of advice to buy anything, but I'm just kind of starting to put these into a watch list on Google Finance, so we can kind of just jump in and just see what's happening in some of the people's kind of favorite investments, ETFs, stocks, companies that they're kind of watching on the channel. So if you have one that you don't see on here, we've just started this list this week, so there's only obviously a few in there that we'll be adding them. One I'm going to add today for MC. I will definitely add Aritzia, as you mentioned. Aritzia doing their earnings after the bell today. So let's add Aritzia to our. Are we following it? Oh, we are. Yeah, we are. I've got it in the Coffee Crew. There we go. Let's open that up. So we'll add that in. Aritzia doing well. Aritzia is doing really good. I always mention this one because a friend of mine, his wife has bought Aritzia, and she bought Aritzia quite a while ago. So she will be happy because in the last, what's it up? It's up a little bit in the last year, but in the last 5 years, it's up 200. And she bought it sometime in 20. I think she bought it sometime, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to ask him, but I think she bought it sometime in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. That was kind of her buy that she's been quite happy about, which is it's always good. It's always nice when you hear people have done well on something that they found or are investing in. That's for sure. So there's Aritzia. Those are my top movers. Let's just go to the whole list. That's why it's not showing up. There we go. So we got Aritzia. So far I think we've got 12 in there. Aritzia. We've got Candace's reverse oil. HOD. We've got the BMO low volatility Canadian ZLB, ZLU from BMO, WATR. That's the penny stock. I forget who mentioned that one now. If you're watching, sorry, but that was kind of one of the penny stocks brought up. 14% today. Obviously, not financial advice to buy one of those. HDIF, that's a popular one on the channel. XEQT is obviously really popular with people, the iShares. XEG, that's another, I know that's one of Candace's favorites. Oil ETFs, I actually had that one for a little while in my unregistered account, and actually did okay with that one. So that's always good. And MC, I think Lithium Ionic Corp is yours. And restaurant brands, QSR was brought up by someone in the channel yesterday. I can't remember. If I'll bring that up, if Aritzia lists on the Nasdaq, I think my friend's wife will be retiring. She's hoping it goes like what's that other one? Well, that's actually not doing very well today, or the last couple of days was Lululemon, but she's hoping it's like the Canadian Lululemon was Canadian, but went to Nasdaq as well. So has there been any news on that? I guess I could pull up. I don't really follow Aritzia. It's hard to say if you have to kind of sometimes go to these forums and stuff like that to see if there's any kind of news on what they're planning, but that would be good. That's always good. Get an uplisting from that. I'll have to ask my friend if his wife knows any info. She's in finance. She's a certified financial. She's got her securities license and all that kind of stuff. So she's really she knows what she's doing, as opposed to me sometimes. So I'll have to ask what's going on with Aritzia on that one. If there is any other investments that anybody's kind of watching that wants to get added to the coffee crew list here, let us know. So so there's actually nothing kind of formal, just rumors at this point, MC. They are opening more U.S. stores, yeah, and I know they're doing a lot online as well, from what I understand. It would definitely open it up to U.S. That's for sure. Yeah, like open the floodgates. The floodgates was open. So, yeah. When did you buy Aritzia, MC? Is it something recent? I can't remember if you had mentioned that it was something recent or not, but we'll have to see. And the earnings, like you said, for Aritzia's earnings today. So I'm going to watch that one. It's always kind of interesting to see what happens. One that I've actually had my kind of eye on, and I don't have any in my TFSA, as people would know, but I've always also been kind of keeping my eye on what's going on with Air Canada, because their earnings are coming up, I think, the middle of next month, and I have a feeling. I have a feeling they're going to be good. I think the travel is really picked up from, we hear all the horror stories in the news, with delays and all that kind of stuff. But it was kind of interesting that with the news was mostly focused on the charter airlines, like Sunwing and that kind of thing. And Air Canada wasn't really in the news that much, from what I kind of remember. And so I'm interested to see what their earnings are, what they're doing. I think they could be obviously, again, not telling anybody to buy Air Canada, but I think it might be interesting to see how their earnings come in. I think it might be a bit of a surprise in a good way for people. Are they getting it? So I'll have to read the rest of your comment here, MC, because it doesn't all show up in the chat, unfortunately. Let me see if I can move this up. No, I've got it set. So it'll be interesting to see if they can gain traction in menswear. I did not know they were actually getting into menswear. I didn't know that. So they bought a brand called Reigning Champ out of Vancouver, and many of their products are made in Canada. Oh, interesting. I didn't actually know. I just assumed they were just for women's clothes. So that'll be interesting. Now are they going to bring men's? Are you thinking they're bringing menswear into the same? Like, are they rolling that brand into Aritzia? I guess that would make sense. Or are they going to carry on with? Yeah, interesting. I'll have to. I haven't really followed a lot of. And Hunter, welcome to the channel. I don't think this is your first time commenting. I'm not sure on bird construction. I can pull it up, and if anybody obviously is watching, they may have some thoughts on it. It's not something, but I can definitely put it on the. I can definitely, I'm just going to see if I can find the ticker pretty good. Bird construction. Bird Construction Inc. There we go. I'm going to add it to the list, Hunter, so we can follow it. Oops. And make sure I add it to the right watch list. Oops, I think I added the wrong one. Bird. Sorry, one sec here. My mouse. There it is. Let's add it to our. Let's add that. Sorry, so people can see. We've got it on there. So bird construction. If anybody has any thoughts to help Hunter out, maybe fire them in the comments. But we'll keep an eye on that one, Hunter. Thanks for your comment. That's kind of one to watch. Keep an eye on that one. Always good. Yeah, AC will doing better. I think. Yeah, I don't think they're going to make a profit yet, but I think they're kind of getting there. Yeah, they've had, obviously, well, everybody knows what's the last couple years have been. So I think this might be not a bad. Hopefully, hopefully 2023 is the turnaround for a lot of these. Some of these companies that were obviously heavily impacted by COVID. Air Canada, AC was obviously one of them. It may take 3 years to get there, but maybe not a bad long-term investment for growth. Yeah, I think so. I mean it had record quarters, right up until March 2020. Obviously, I think they were trading close to $50. It's obviously going to be a while before it's back up to that. But we'll have to see. That's one to watch. This is kind of interesting. I think the earnings are February, towards the end of February, if I'm not mistaken. And Paul, okay, it's better late than never. It's all right. It's good to have you here. It's always good. Just tuning in is fine. It's always fun. Thanks for the chat, everybody, today. This is great. This is great. Lots of comments to roll through. So I know Candace. Here we go. So Telus, Rogers, Bell cage match tomorrow. So for those that don't know, Candace on her channel Mountain Finance has been doing battles between similar stocks. I don't think she's done the battles between ETFs. Last week's was very helpful for me between Brookfield BAM and BN, Brookfield Asset Management, Brookfield Corp, because that was like the super confusing stock split. It helped out. So she's doing one tomorrow, Rogers, the cage match between the telecom companies in Canada, which should be interesting. Rogers, Bell, Telus. I own Telus in my TFSA as an individual share. I'm pretty positive VDY holds Bell and Rogers in there. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it probably pretty sure. But individually, so there we go. So hopefully mine wins. We'll have to see. So Brian, yeah. So Candace will have that posted tomorrow on her channel, so you can check out the cage match to see who's the better, maybe long term investment to go into there. We'll have to see. Oh, MC. Well, thanks for your help. So there you go, Hunter. MC is always very helpful, and obviously nothing to comment specifically on Bird, but in a similar space, they suggest checking out WSP or STN. I'm gonna just turn around here and add those two to our um, WSP Global. I'm gonna add these to our watch list just so we can keep an eye on them. And STN. Stantec. I've heard of Stantec. That sounds familiar. Coffee Crew. Let's make sure I've got STN, WSP. There we go. So I'll add those two to our watch. Hopefully that helps you out, Hunter, a little bit. XGD. What's I've got X. I think I've got that one in there, Candace. Sorry, I'm gonna pull up the. I'll pull up the screen share so people can see. What are we doing? I need extra hands. I need like a producer on the side that I can just pull this stuff. Oh, Global Index Gold. Oh, okay. I think I've. You know what? It's funny. I think I have that one in my. Funnily enough, I think I have that one actually in my watch list, Candace, on Wealthsimple actually. XGD, gold, the gold one. Where did it go? Why is it not showing up now? XGD. There we go. Gold. Okay, interesting. There we go. Lots of stuff to kind of start to follow now and keep an eye on. It's always nice once they when this stuff to add, to kind of keep an eye, just to keep an eye and pop some news up. And it pops up news as I'm kind of surfing around. So if I see anything to be able to bring up for anybody to talk about on the channel, it always helps a lot. So gold and silver, yeah, it's interesting. I've got a tiny bit of gold MC because I have the Wealthsimple Invest side. Like I have my RSP there and my Lira, as people kind of know, and there's a gold portion of gold in there, and it's actually doing okay. Yeah. The one downside, obviously, with for better or worse, I guess, on the invest side is you can't. You can choose your percentages. More equities, more fixed income, more gold on, but you can't choose actual individual ETFs because the invest side is all ETFs, but it's robo advisor. So obviously, as you can't choose individual, but it does have a bit of gold in there, which actually is, I think, doing actually okay. And back to Air Canada AC. Yeah, it is interesting. It's oil and gas can definitely impact them. So prices of oil down, that's obviously a good thing. Labor costs, worker shortage. Yeah, it's I think from what I understand, it's hard for companies sometimes to get this. Obviously, I think a lot of places it's hard for companies to get staffing, but trained staffing. But also, I think during the with pilots, I think they're having a hard time. I think that kind of also impacted because of some of the delays and stuff over the holidays. I think some of the impacts were also due to staffing issues, because obviously I don't know how all the laws and everything work with airlines, but after a certain number of hours, like you can't fly, or stewards and stuff can't be on a plane because they're going to go over their hours, but they just have no staff to bring on. So it just delays, right? Kind of compounds up on there. And there were some things with needing pilots as well. But I also follow MC, someone on Twitter that is kind of into aviation, and he had shared something at one point where I found it interesting. Whereas there's actually not as many pilots being trained right now, partly because of a lot of pilots would come in out of Air Force. Now this person was from the States, so obviously Canada might be a little bit different, but a lot of the pilots obviously would come out of the Air Force in the United States. because they would have their training in the Air Force. But the way that the Air Force is almost switching, because there's a lot of now, they do all the like the unmanned drones, right? So the pilots are trained differently. So when the pilots are coming out of the military, they're not pilots in the traditional sense. They would have been flying. They would have been flying, drones from and not manning planes. So not as many pilots are actually being created or trained out of the military. So I think that's why they have a hard time filling those spots. And obviously demographics as well. Pilots obviously have to retire eventually, and just the age demographics, more people retiring. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of vacancies in a lot of positions, because there's a lot of retirement happening, and the spaces just aren't getting filled. So always interesting. That was an interesting tweet thread I found. Twitter can be good for kind of things like that. That's for sure. With different things. And let's catch up on the comments. Rate hikes get lower, that'd be good for gold. Yeah, gold seems to always do okay, right? Like it's never very exciting, because it just kind of sits there. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we'll have to see what happens with gold and other precious. So MC usually stays away from resource stocks for long-term holds, since they rely so heavily on the price of the resource itself, which is not in their control. Price takers, it's that's the one thing, like resource, like oil, gas stocks, everything else. And the only time MC invests in resources for short term is for short term, or if the management team is strong, which can increase the shareholder value outside the underlying price of the resource. There we go. Always good feedback. I just have a very small portion of gold in my invest side. I don't have it, and I've been kind of looking at that. Actually, it was that ETF that Candace mentioned. It must have gotten mentioned before Candace. Somehow, I forget how it ended up on my watch list on Wealthsimple, but I've been kind of watching it to maybe add something to my TFSA, but I've kind of just decided right now, because in terms of, the one thing with gold, obviously you're not making. If it's just gold, you're not making necessarily yield on it other than appreciation in price. But I've been more focused on like trying to put some extra money in just cash for now with the PSA. That's just me though. Everybody always kind of a bit different. So, and there we go. But always good. Always good to see what everybody else's opinions are. I'm just going to scroll back, because I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's comments. If I did miss someone's comment, there's lots coming in today. Put it back in the chat. Don't be afraid. Oh, Abstract, thanks for joining. If I think it's your first comment. What does dollar cost average mean? It's I have a video on that on my channel. You can always check out after this, but it's kind of in a nutshell is just averaging your cost of an investment over time. So for example, I am using dollar cost averaging for this year. Kind of my focus is on purchasing. I'm doing a deposit every week on my TFSA of $100, and I'm going to purchase the same thing for a year. And it's going to be, I'm buying one share of VDY and $50 of PSA, which is the savings account, but also the remaining amount is going to go into VDY. So with that, those regular deposits, obviously the average cost, I buy it no matter what. So it's basically just dollar cost averaging your cost. I'm not necessarily I'm not paying any attention to what the price is, just buying it on a schedule. So over the course of a year, my cost of buying those shares of the ETFs will be averaged out on there. So it's kind of a good way to invest. Everybody has different. It takes for me. It takes sometimes a lot of some of the stress out of investing, thinking you're maybe buying something that maybe it's too high or whatever. But it takes a lot of the stress out of it, and a lot of the uncertainty, that kind of thing. So, but I have a video which goes into a bit more detail on my channel. You can check out. But awesome comment. For gold and metals, interesting follow Eric Sprott. Is he? I wonder if he's on Twitter. I'll have to search that out. MC, best investor in the space, which also happens to be Canadian. The only person I really follow for any kind of gold, and he's a huge gold bug, is and he hates Bitcoin, is Peter Schiff. I don't follow him on Twitter, but his stuff always seems to come up because I do follow Bitcoin people on Twitter, and it's always like the anti Peter Schiff. So his stuff shows up on that. So for the gold, all the gold bugs on there. I have owned gold before though, like actual physical gold and silver, which I've sold, but and actually made some money at the time. Yeah, always free to check it out. It's on there. I think it's a pretty recent one. Definitely, I think if I remember correctly, abstract. I believe it was done this year. So, yeah. Overall thoughts on bank stocks. I think they're good. I'm one of the to kind of answer your last question on dollar cost averaging. One of the ones I am dollar cost averaging into. I don't own any individual bank stocks in my TFSA, but I am dollar cost averaging. One of the holdings I have is VDY, which is the Canadian high dividend yield, and it's weighed heavily on. It's Canadian, so it's weighed heavily on the financials in Canada. Has the big five bank has the big five banks, and then I think it's got a couple other ones as well. So it kind of heavily on bank stocks. I know there's a few people that are probably watching that do own some individual ones. I don't know if anybody's here. You can always, if there's comments, chime in. But there is people on the channel that own, Royal Bank, TD, CIBC, the big five. I just haven't done individually abstract because I like that ETF because it kind of covers that, but it also covers it's heavily on finance, banking. It's all on. Covers the telecom. It covers and also covers energy as well. So it's a decent ETF that allows me to diversify as well, and just kind of easier to kind of manage and don't have to pay as much attention to. I guess would be the best thing. It kind of makes it easy to, again, dollar cost average into it, and it does pay monthly dividends, so that's kind of nice as well. So I think the bank sector is supposed to do what I think Canadian in general, Canadian equities this year are supposed to do quite decent, especially with energy. That's kind of what I've been reading and what the predictions are. But again, we'll have to see. And I was actually, Candace, good call. I was actually just looking at the clock, but I had my eye over on my emails, and it's actually kind of quiet on emails today. So I don't have anything that jumped out. So we can stay today. My big meeting days are Tuesdays because literally right after the live stream, I have a call, and then I have a scheduled Zoom meeting, for better or worse, every Tuesday. So like Tuesday is like my meeting day. I'm on the phone and in front of the camera from like 8 o'clock till about 11. So it's a long day, but today's not too bad, and I have no emails yet. So happy with that. Yeah, hello. Oh, okay. So MC, yeah. So for abstract, MC is one of the visitors of the channel. It always has great insights. So their favorites, obviously, none of it is saying to buy these by any means, as you know, but maybe a good starting point for research. Royal Bank, TD, National Bank, and then but they don't really like traditional bank stocks. Going into more go easy. That's kind of the sub. Go easy is kind of like. It's not payday. Sorry, go easy is not payday loans, but it's. I think they do. Maybe they do payday stuff as well, but they do kind of small loans on things too. Go easy. EQ Bank is kind of an alternative. It's a scheduled bank in Canada, but they do a lot of alternative lending in Canada. But they also have like their products they're kind of more virtual. I don't think EQ Bank has branches. I could be wrong. Pretty sure they don't. They might have one or two, but they do like online GICs, high interest savings account, that kind of thing. And then Brookfield Asset Management. I think BAM is a favorite. It's kind of becoming a favorite on the channel, MC, much like Telus, but also I think BAM's pretty popular for Canadians in general. Actually, a lot of reading I do on it. It seems to be quite a popular stock to pick up. But there we go. Let's just one sec here. No emails. It's always doing good. But it is 9 o'clock now. I did have my buzzer go. So we usually go to about 8:45. 9 o'clock is a stretch. I just want to thank everybody for joining in. Lots of fun today. Lots of comments, which was awesome. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I'm sorry. But we'll obviously catch you on the next one, and see if anything comes up. So just thanks everybody for joining in. We will be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock Pacific time, for another 45 minutes to an hour. Do really appreciate you taking time in the mornings. Have a great rest of the day. I'm going to go fill up my coffee before I get kind of started with work today. It's always fun. I don't have an outro yet, so I just have to kind of sign off, and we'll catch you all